So this is the top half of the head on these engines. I'll go ahead and just get this out of the way. Alright, so here's my parts for this. So we have 1 on this side, 4 on that side, intake on the bottom. So for this, it actually sits this way. So this is number 1 on this end. So we'll turn around, I guess, but this will make this intake. Okay, so the first thing I like to do is put the shafts in. So let's get this the way it's supposed to go again. So remember, it's number 1 on this side, intake here on this side. So it's going to be this one here. And it just goes into that shaft there and gets stuck in the next one. I'm going to do that to all of them because it's probably going to happen to every one of these, except this one. So that one went in just fine. So it looks like we only had that one there give me some trouble. Unfortunately, I wasn't paying attention and put it in backwards, so it might be a little bit of a challenge to get back out. Luckily, I didn't push it all the way in. One end of these is actually threaded, as you can see there. That makes it easier to pull it back out when the time comes. So, like I said, we'll just go ahead and stick these into that first hole right there. So now we're ready to put rockers in. Keep in mind the intakes down here. They're pretty simple. They just kind of go in like that, and the spring goes on the side that has the kind of raised portion right there. See how like this one's just smooth and this one's raised. So the spring goes on that side. Is an easy way to tell there. There we go. So then we're going to do the exact same thing over here. So that's all in there now. The last thing to go in on this piece is the drive here. If I remember how it goes in. I believe it all goes in from the top here. Okay, so this whole thing goes in from the outside here. So the way it actually goes. Again, a socket can come in real handy. Then it just simply has a clip here in the rear of it that holds it forward. There we go. Then it has this washer and then this little oil seal here that goes in. I should have a new one of these somewhere. Let me have a look. So then this oil seal just gets driven in here like any other old oil seal. There we go. And then the shaft or the RPM pickup thing will come up right there. Attach that, then this screw holds it on. So we're done with this one now also. Moving right along. Okay, so it's time to go ahead and start putting the cylinders and pistons back in the engine, but first we need to check the ring gap on these rings. It's pretty easy and straightforward. I'm just going to do one of them here. So let me go ahead and get these off of this piston first. One thing to note on this is when you're taking rings off, just be careful not to snap one on accident. They won't bend as far as you think they would. Then the old style O-ring here. They're a little harder to get off than most. Okay, so we'll start with the compression ring here, the first compression ring. You just want to put it in the cylinder, push it together, and push it down evenly all the way around about where the top of the ring's going to be in the engine. So on this engine, maybe 1/4 inch. Then it's going to take my feeler gauge. So I'm, on this one I'm doing 0.09 to 0.10. or 9 thousandths to 10 thousandths. So this one's perfect, spot on for that. Next I'm going to go ahead and do the second compression ring here. So that one's a little bigger than 9 thousandths, so we'll go to the next one, 10 thousandths, and check that out. That's right on, so that's fine. And then we'll check the oil ring. On these oil rings, you do need to check them just because of the way they work. You want to make sure it's not over tight and going to break a ring. Okay, so this one might actually be a little tight. The 0.09 is not going in, so I'm going to go down some. So I'll try 8 thousandths. 8 thousandths is tight in there. So it just needs like a brush with the file and it'll probably be fine. So I'll go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, so after you've done a little filing, you need to test fit the ring again. So just push it back in there. Get out that 0.09 9 thousandths gauge. Alright, it fits nice now. Alright, so that one's ready, so we can go ahead and start putting the rings back on the piston. I'm just going to spread this as little as possible when I put this on here. Kind of work it down. Up next I'll put the middle compression ring on it, the second ring. It's almost always the one that has the square edge. That's the way it is in this engine anyway. So I'll just spread that out again over this. Then the compression ring, or the top ring. They usually have a bit of a rounded edge, and that's generally the top one. It is in this case. Okay, there we got it on there, and I'm gonna go ahead and put the rings where I want them. I'll put the top two on the intake side, about 120 degrees apart. Then I'll put the oil ring on the exhaust side. Alright, and that one's done. Okay, so it's time to go ahead and put the pistons back on, the rods. I like to generally start with the middle, since they stick up a little bit higher. And I can get to the clips. Okay, we'll start with this number 2 here. So when we're doing the clips for these, first I always put it on the, well, first of all, there's an intake side and it's marked on this one IN. So that goes that way. So I want to put the clip in on this side first because it's harder to get to. It's on the inside, so we can get the one on that side. So I'll go ahead and start with that clip. Alright, so there's that clip. It's going to go on this side here. Everybody's got their own technique for this. I use a pair of needle nose. I like to get one of the edges kind of in on the divot there and then wrap it around so the tip comes in right there, and it usually goes right in the first time. Alright, so that one's ready to install now. Okay, so I'm going to put a little assembly lube on the piston pin here before I put it in, just so on startup it's lubricated. I usually like to go ahead and start it in here. Okay, so I went ahead and put a little assembly lube in there and put a little coating on the pin. And of course I have my clip in there on that side, so I go ahead and get this here on this number 2 rod. And there it is. I use a socket to push it through. And it's on there now. I'll go ahead and do this one also. Okay, so go ahead and put the one in this piston. Of course that's the inlet side, so it needs to go on this side. Always remember to use new C-clips when you're putting these together. They're only supposed to be used once. Again, I'll put it there in that notch. Sometimes they fetch you a little more. There we go. It's in there now. So go ahead and put that piston pin in. Okay, so now for the more fun part, I'm going to put the clip on the inside one here. It's the same way, it's just everything's in the way. Ah, close. There it is. Make sure it clips, you don't want that coming out. So go ahead and put this one in here. I'll try to anyway. that one's not all the way clipped yet, so you hear it click. There it is. Now it's in. Okay, on to the outside ones. If you're turning the crank, be careful not to, hit the piston. Alright, so now we're ready to do these outside two here. Okay, so just like before, we'll put one clip in first. Alright, so on this one here, in will be that side. So we'll put this side on first. Same thing over here, in is that side, so we're going to do this side here. There we go. Alright, so now we're ready to put these on. Okay, so up next is piston number 4 here. So I've already put the clip in right here. And then we're going to get the pin for number 4. Put a little assembly lube on it. Usually a little bit on the end of the rod there. So then I'll go ahead and put that pin in about that far. So it's just barely sticking out on the inside. It makes it a lot easier to find the rod. Just sticking out just a little bit. And there it is. I'll just push it all the way in with the socket. Now it's time to put a pin in. Like I said, everybody's got their own technique on this, so just kind of whatever works best for you without shooting you in the eye with it. See, like that angle's not good for me. So I come in this way. That's gonna be upside down. This might work. No, I'm not happy with that. There we go. Not quite in yet. Push it a little more. Hope it doesn't shoot across the room. And there it is. Hear that nice snap? So that one's on. Okay, so now I'll go ahead and put this last piston on here. And I'll go right in just like the other one. Then just gotta put one more pin in. Whoop, that one almost got loose from me. There we go. Oh, no. Ah, so close. Ah, it popped out. That was close, almost went in the case. Got it this time. Yeah. There it is. Okay, all 4 of them are done.